bienvenidos. I am Stephanie Weber, waitress, comediette, lover of breakfast, who wants to understand my fellow human by consuming pop culture. That's what I'm here to do, and that's why you're here to listen and learn, so that you can impress your friends at a party by saying, you know, I heard this thing. And I'm here to give you the things to regurgitate to your friends so that you sound smart, sexy, and you don't have to give me the credit. Just rate and review. Today I want to talk about this strange phenomena of directors who are women. That's right, let's talk about female directors. Can you believe they can do it all? Chloe Zhao won the Oscar for Best Director this year, and she was only the second woman ever to win the award. And I know, Oscars, who cares? But they do mirror what's happening in our society at the time, what we care about, the art we make, etc., etc. The first woman to win the Oscar for Best Director was Kathryn Bigelow, and even then, in the history of the Academy Awards, which has been going on since 1929, and I will not figure out how many years that is because that's like really hard in my head, but in the history of the Oscars, only 5 women have ever been nominated. Just for trivia's sake, those women who have been nominated have been Lena Wertmüller, Jane Campion, Kathryn Bigelow, Greta Gerwig, and Chloe Zhao. In case you didn't notice, 3 of those women have only been nominated in the last 12 years alone. Now, that's not because only 5 women have ever made movies or even good ones. There are plenty of women who have broken out since the dawn of the film industry, when pioneering actress and director Mabel Normand was at the helm of her own movies in the 19-teens. And bisexual directress Alla Nazimova directed and starred in the stunning classic Salome, which featured a lot of shirtless men, so there's that. We credit French director Alice Guy Blaché as the first female director, and that bitch was making little movie films in the 1890s, when the moving pictures were invented. So even in the 1920s, novelist Zora Neale Hurston directed her own short film called Children's Games, which was the first non-silent film to be directed by a black woman, on top of all the masterful writing she was doing. Bitch can do it all! Unless you're a film dork like me, you probably don't even realize that some of your favorite and most violent and most hilarious films have been directed by women. A woman directed American Psycho, Wayne's World, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Babadook. I could go on. And even the awful Battle of the Sexes comedy, What Women Want, starring Mel Gibson. Nancy Meyers, girl, what were you doing? There are women like Amy Heckerling, Penny Marshall, Agnes Varda, Ida Lupino, Penelope Spheris, Lulu Wang, Nora Ephron, Dee Rees, and so many others who are behind some of the greatest classics that the world has ever seen. Yet they don't get the same kind of admiration that their male counterparts get. You can be a Tarantino fan. You can be inspired by Spielberg. You can be raised on Hitchcock, like myself. I was a very scary kid who rented Psycho week after week after week at the video store until my mom said, "This is probably not good for your brain." It was. How come film dorks and dweebs don't say that they were brought up by Seidelman or Sofia Coppola? Why aren't women held to the same distinction? Well, we all know the answer there, but my point is that there aren't that many differences between the genders when it comes to directing. My day job is actually watching sex scenes all day long. It is really hot, horny, and boring. And I can tell you that female-directed sex scenes tend to give both partners a little extra love, but besides a penchant for showing more emotional nuance, there aren't that many differences between the two. So, in this discussion of female-directed movies, I wondered if the same classic movies directed by women would be different if they were directed by men. It's a goofy thought experiment, but please indulge me. Here is my attempt to guess how many of these absolutely fantastic female-directed films would have changed if a man were at the helm, and how they would have likely been worse. This is super binary, I know, and it's all a really fun guessing game. It's just a silly podcast I'm doing for free, unless you want to pay me. Don't be mad at me, okay? Hate the game, the film industry, the patriarchy, your dad, not the player. Me, a tiny cis lady writer. Okay, so today I want to talk to my lady female friend Olivia Perry about female-directed films, and we're going to play a little game with her to see if there really is any difference. So Olivia is a comedian, and she's an actrice whom you may have seen on the show South Side. It's available now on HBO Max. I know that they just shot their second season, and it's very, very funny. I really recommend it. Olivia, how are you today?
Oh my gosh, I'm good. I've been having trouble sleeping,
Oh no.
but I think that's because that's just when I think the most. But other than that,
Okay, that was really deep.
I know.
I'm up late at night thinking my thoughts.
Just, thinking about like maybe there are people after me. It's like things like that.
I love that when you hear the slightest sound at night, you're like all snuggled into bed, and then there's just a tiny creak somewhere in your house, and you're like, that really could be an invader.
Oh, and then I lock the door because I
Mm-hmm.
have a lock in my room. So like when I was uh cat sitting for my roommate, I heard something and I just locked the door and I'm like, like she'll be fine. She can fight. She has fangs
Oh my God.
and
I once lived in an apartment where there was a lock on my door, but on the outside of my door.
no.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's someone was being held there before
Yeah.
you lived
Oh, and it
there.
was my very first apartment I ever lived in, and it was a basement apartment. So there was just a lot of things about that that felt like, yeah, who needed to be locked into this bedroom before I stayed here?
So you were paying rent for a crime scene.
I absolutely was. And it was like I said, since it was a basement apartment, my that room, the bedroom, the window faced out into the street, and at first I would have people knocking on the window, and one time someone had a flashlight outside the window. So whoever lived in that room before was up to no good, and she still had people finding her, I feel like. I would like come to
I'm
the window
stressed.
and be like, "Is who are you?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, sorry, sorry," and walk away. So
Was this
that's
here?
yeah, it was in the Albany Park neighborhood a long time ago now, like 10 years ago. It was my first apartment.
Yeah.
She was
Ah,
growing up in the
fun,
world.
scary.
Fun, scary. And then the next apartment I lived in got broken into, and we all got robbed the day we moved in. So it's just kind of like you got to grow up, you know? You got to learn somehow. And how else are you going to
Mhm.
learn without having a series of crimes happen at you?
I mean, I don't know.
So, Olivia, I know I told you before we were going to talk today about some movies that are directed by lady female women's.
Mhm.
Do you have any movies that you particularly like off the top of your head that have female directors?
I guess the two would be that I just like think of
Mm-hmm.
Marie Antoinette.
Mm,
I feel like that's very like I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm like, no, I got to talk about it
I
because I
think we
just
should.
recently watched it
Mm-hmm.
like a couple months ago. And then the other one is like maybe one of the most recent films I've seen, and that's Promising Young Woman.
Wow. So that movie was nominated for an Academy Award, and that was really incredible because she was one of two women up for the award, which has never happened before at the same time. So it's
She
very cool.
also she wrote, directed, and co-produced it.
And that's what we call girl boss slay. But that is that's really cool. I actually still haven't seen Promising Young Women, women's, but that I really do want to. But Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, I just wrote about at work the other
Oh,
day, because I was looking through some of the reviews. Originally, were like pretty pretty split. That movie was like really, really divisive. A lot of the reviews were really sexist because the reviews are like talking about how like almost frilly and silly it is. Which I'm, looking back, you're like, that's kind of the point. The aesthetics of the movie were supposed to show you how removed this queen was from her people.
also Marie Antoinette was frilly and silly.
Yes, that was kind of like the style.
Yeah, that's just kind of like what it is,
The men wore wigs. I mean, what can we say here?
There was a cool part though where she's being taught harpsichord
Mm-hmm.
by a black guy.
Oh, I
And
actually
I'm
remember
like,
that.
yeah, I'm like, that's pretty I feel like that's pretty like accurate, historically accurate, and not just like her playing into like wokeness, as a lot of people like to say. But like because there were like black uh musicians and like I mean Beethoven. That's
Bef-
still out for debate.
Yeah, I've heard that theory that he
Yeah.
was maybe mixed. Is that what it
Hmm.
is? That's
Yeah.
it. And I don't know. I have no idea. I've never seen a picture of him.
I've never met him.
I'm
So
personally, I don't know Beethoven.
I would know if I met him. If I saw him, I'd be like, we're family,
We're
you know?
family. I feel a kinship to you, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and also like Coppola is such a great example because obviously her dad, so famous, one of the most famous directors of all time.
Mhm.
Influenced
Her
countless
cousin.
people. I mean, well, she's in a whole showbiz family. She's got Jason. She's got Nicolas Cage. You know, Nicolas Cage is her cousin. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Schwartzman. Sorry.
No, he's like the cool one, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
When you say her cousin, I feel
You,
like Nicolas Cage.
you mean Sir Nicolas Cage?
I mean Nicholas Coppola. That's his real name.
I know. I visited his grave in New Orleans because he has a grave for himself already. It is a
Oh
pyramid.
my God.
It's a pyramid that he put up in a very famous, because he went through a New Orleans period. It's actually a crazy story. He went through a New Orleans period. He bought one of the most famous houses in New Orleans, which is a crazy haunted mansion. I don't if anyone's ever seen American Horror Story. I think the Coven season, the woman that
Oh,
Kathy
yeah,
Bates
yeah.
is based off of, that's a real story. And so her house was vacant for like 100 years because it was crazy haunted and like the most heinous crimes ever happened there, all that stuff. Nicholas buys it. Nicky boy, our friend Nick buys it, and then he barely lived there. I don't think he even lived there. And then he tries to sell it. Apparently, it took forever for him to sell. But he also bought his own grave, and it's a pyramid. And people would come and kiss it, and he loved that there are all these lipstick kisses on it. And when I was there, you can't go into this. It's a very old graveyard, so you can't go into it without a tour. But the tour only costs like $2, so do it. But
Oh.
yeah. So the lady though said that they clean all the graves because they're so old, so they cleaned off all the kisses. And last time he went there, he threw a fit because he couldn't see his kisses. Yeah. I don't know if you like to like picture that like I do, where it's Nick Cage talking like he's in The Wicker Man,
Yeah.
screaming full volume, just being like, "Where are my kisses?" That's what I pictured happened at the graveyard.
Not the kisses.
Not
Not the
the
kisses.
So it's I'm glad it's a very very weird thing to buy your own like full on gravestone.
Well, I mean, he's obsessed with Elvis and married her daughter,
I think
or
this
married
was
his daughter.
the same period of time, actually.
Okay, yeah. It's like he was like, I got the best. Like,
Do we think he's okay?
no, absolutely not. Have you seen anything he's been in?
I've seen The Wicker Man. Yeah.
That's it.
No.
That's only Nicolas Cage movies.
Wicker Man, Weatherman, anything he's in where he's a man, I've seen that. I've seen that. But I do so. But Sofia Coppola is a great example because she has directed so many movies. Her movies have such a style. They tell these female-driven stories. They're very nuanced, and yet it's like I don't even actually think she's never been nominated for an Academy Award. She for directing
Not for
specifically.
Lost in Translation.
There's only been five women have only ever been nominated for the Best Director category at the Oscars.
Oh, maybe Lost in Translation was like best film or something, but like not
That's
directed.
happened to a lot of these women as well, where their film gets nominated for Best Film, but they don't get the Best Director. Which is always kind of crazy. Those two categories are so strange to me because whenever they're different winners, I'm like, what do we think happened in the movie? who do you think like made it all like wove it together like a beautiful tapestry?
I feel like they're like, no, yeah, the like movie in general was good, but the execution, I just don't know. Or it's the execution, the effort was there. We're gonna give you that, but the film, shit.
Yeah, it's like I really like that movie, but I just don't like that guy. I just don't like it. I just don't. But those are grot examples. So I also wanted to play a little game with you where we can talk about how some of these famous movies that are directed by women would be different if they were directed by men, and some of them might actually surprise you. One example that I want to talk about straight off the bat is Clueless, directed by Amy Hecker-Ling, who also directed Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which has a lot of booby nudity in it, so that might surprise y'all.
Oh,
But that's I watched that the scenes from that film like every day at work. But Clueless is the story of Cher Horowitz. She's a spoiled teen in Beverly Hills, and she has a whole coming of age story. She and her friends befriend Brittany Murphy's character, who's a bit of a nerd. She falls for her stepbrother. It's a whole thing, you know?
But Brittany Murphy isn't a virgin who can't drive.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
Even though in real life she was like, I was a virgin who couldn't drive.
She's so endearing. She's so good in this movie. I mean, basically everything she's in. She's wonderful.
Yeah,
But
R.I.P.
if this was directed by men's,
Oh my God.
what do you think might happen?
Oh, there would be so many teen boobs
Every single one of those ladies would have had to show her boobs.
because there's literally no boobs in it.
There's no nudity in the movie.
No nudity.
Mm-mm.
It's like and the thing is, like, they're like adults, but it's not like you can't like tell if that makes sense. Like, I feel like
Oh, yeah.
other like high school movies, they're like adults, and you're like, no way. And they're like, yeah, I got my 401k to help me get into college. Whereas, like, with
Yeah.
like Clueless, I feel like it was really realistic.
Yeah.
And I think like if it was directed by a man, there wouldn't be that, like, I don't know.
They
That
would, yeah, they would have a lot more booby stuff for sure. I mean, her and her stepbrother would have probably, Paul Rudd, would have had a full on sex scene.
oh, like at the beginning.
The movie starts with them having sex, and the whole movie is her being like, I don't know. It's just a porn. It's incest porn. Like, I just don't know what to do. What should I do?
I mean, probably. And she wouldn't have been smart
Mm-hmm.
because she's like smart.
Yeah. She's very curious. That's what's fun about that character. She's like, sure, she's naive and she's sheltered, but she's really curious about the world, you know?
But also she's 17. Like, that's also the thing. Like, yeah, she's curious and sheltered. She's 17. So it's like very like true, I feel like, to high school, especially like
Mm-hmm.
since I grew up like around people kind of like that, like on the West. Like,
As
it's
if.
as if like
Mm.
when I go back and visit, I'm usually like, oh my God, hi everyone, how are you? And my mom's like, I can tell you've been hanging out with your friends. And I'm like,
Oh my
as
God.
if.
So everyone I grew up with was basically like they were in the movie Juno, so it's very different. Written by Diablo Cody Woman. But yeah, everyone's like, hey, what's up, hon? Huh? So yeah, after high school, I went to the beauty college across the street. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I know
Yeah.
how to highlight your hair and to make it look like a chunky zebra.
We love chunky zebras.
I don't know what it was about the girls that went to the beauty college across the street from my high school after high school, but that was the first haircut they all gave themselves. They all gave themselves like the chunkiest of highlights, and it was like a little bit of that short spiky in the back situation.
Because it's easy.
Yeah. I
All
guess
you have to
that's the
do,
thing.
you just put a cap on your head with holes in it and you pull the hair through, and that's how you highlight it.
Okay, you don't need to go to beauty school. You just told me how to do it.
I used to like love drawing and looking at like hairstyle magazines,
Mm.
and there were so many in those magazines of models with those chunky. And so for a while I was like, oh, this is a cool haircut.
Yeah, I mean, all of us did. I mean, to be fair, it's like that was like around. You know, now it's like I think like what the kids are calling the Karen, but it was because they all got that hairstyle 20 years ago and they famously didn't change it. You know,
Yes.
but it seemed hot. if you can believe it, the Karen.
I mean,
was
in the
hot.
summer it was cool, you know, because it wasn't on your neck.
Oh yeah, and you can you don't have to style it. It still looks good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the next film I want to talk about, I don't know if you've seen, but it is The Babadook, directed
Oh,
by
yeah.
Jennifer Kent.
Babadook.
Oh my God. I mean, this movie's so good. You know what? I was reading a little bit about her, the director. I think this is her first film, but she tried to make it for like 10 years. It was one of those.
Oh, wow.
And then afterwards, people wanted her to like basically make it a horror franchise, and she's refused consistently. She's like, this is the story I wanted to tell. I told it. I'm done. You know, I'm going to do something else now. And I think that's
Yeah.
so cool. There's so much integrity to that I don't know if everyone has inside them.
Well, it's like I feel like everyone's just always constantly like, we have to keep building off of it. And
Well,
it's like,
yeah, if you give me $1 million, I'll be like, I guess the story's not over.
Well, it just gets like played out though,
Hmm.
too. Like it just like goes on so long. But Babadook is interesting because it's like the story of a mom and her son.
Hmm.
And you go, so I feel like if it wasn't directed by a woman, you wouldn't have seen that much. Because I feel like most of the film is just their relationship. It's not really about the Babadook.
Yeah.
It's more about the mom and the son and how he has like issues. And I feel like also if it was not directed by a woman, there wouldn't be that patience there with the kid.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And that's one of the things I really like about there's a lot of horror movies that are directed by women. And
Mm.
I feel like they do have a little bit more nuance. There's a little bit more relationship building, a little bit more the monsters within us kind of idea, you know.
Mhm.
And also the Babadook's a queer icon.
I was gonna say
Hmm.
that there was this like app that you could make songs on, and someone did one about Pennywise and the Babadook, and I sing it all the time to myself, and it's just the Babadook and Pennywise are cute. Please make them fuck.
That's the whole song.
Yeah, I found it on Tumblr.
I mean, honestly, yes. I'm sure that there's so much fan art because of that song.
Oh no, they like it's a thing that
Yeah.
Pennywise and the Babadook are dating.
Okay, so then is the Pennywise now the Pennywise? Is the one and only Pennywise now also a queer icon as we step into Pride Month?
Apparent, yes.
Okay, that's
They've been a
wonderful.
couple for at least two prides now.
I hope I get invited to their wedding. I don't know. I mean,
I hope we all
I
do.
hope we all do as a community. I also want to say, like, I think the Babadook, no spoilers or anything, but also it's been out for a while, so go watch it. But
Yeah, it's been out since I was in college.
yeah, you don't really, you don't see the monster, right? Like that's what we are gonna talk about. Like the monster is like this idea for most of the movie, and if I feel like that is something that could so easily either if a big studio made it or if a boy men's made it, it would be very like the monster's there, we see him, it's so scary. Oh my god, wow! M Night Shyamalan directs
Mhm.
it. It's like this very shitty monster. Yeah,
It's
there's
not a
not
real
much.
monster, it's their neighbor.
It's her ex-husband just trying to get the kid back or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very classic. Oh my god, very classic. The next film on my list is The Watermelon Woman by Cheryl Dunye. This movie, let me let everyone know, this movie was
Mhm.
it's Cheryl Dunye. She wrote, directed, stars in it. She plays a black lesbian who works at a video store. It's an early '90s film. It's like a very indie classic, and it's a one of those like cool, rare, early queer love stories. She meets this girl that works there. Lesbians work there anyway, or I mean, her customer or whatever. She falls in love with her. It's a really cool movie. I think for sure though, like men especially who make stuff that starts in like the film industry or video stores, it feels like it's all about them and their love of movies. So I think that this movie, if it was directed by a man, it would just be starring a man, and he would
Oh
be
yeah.
a wannabe filmmaker, and he would fall in love obviously with the women that are there because they all love him and they all like appreciate his artistry. And Cheryl would not be in the movie at all.
Yeah.
Like she
Well,
wrote the script and we're like, we're done with you, that's it, we're changing everything.
is it American?
It is. It's American. It's an early
Okay.
indie movie. I think it takes place in Philadelphia. I can't
Hmm.
remember. Philadelphia or New York. Don't quote me. I haven't seen it in a couple years. It's really good. I think you would enjoy it. I want to throw that out there mostly to tell people to watch The Watermelon Woman. That movie and The Love Witch are two of my favorites that are directed by women. And I just like at work especially, I constantly find excuses to write about The Love Witch. The Love Witch is amazing. It's about this woman who believes that she like puts spells on people to fall in love with her, but then the men love her too much and she gets annoyed and she just like kills them. But it's very like, but the whole time she's very like, oh, woe is me, why did that go wrong. It's a very cool, and it stylistically looks like it's like a '60s technicolor movie. I think I showed you
I
pictures of it before.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
And if that was directed by a man, I feel like a man would come in and save her, and that's how it would
Oh,
end. Hmm.
oh my gosh. Like, yeah. Just like I've been watching a lot of I mean, I watch so much TV and movies and stuff and just like really thinking of the differences. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I know this isn't a movie, but like shrill, like you can
Yeah.
tell was directed by women or not white men, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes, but also uh, men can be good directors, but still, like,
Oh my God, yeah, of course they are.
no, but I mean, like, I've worked with one that like made sure everyone felt comfortable, which I
Mm-hmm.
haven't experienced before, like made a whole speech about like respecting women, which I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that like makes everything good. But I don't think that's like a very common, I mean, I know it's not a very common thing. And
Or it traditionally hasn't been,
yeah,
unfortunately is what we've heard over the
yes.
years. But yeah, I mean, of course, like men make great movies too, guys. I don't want any men out there to have their feelings
I'm
hurt.
not,
Like we love
I regret
Titanic.
apologizing. I regret apologizing now because I'm like, I don't want to like,
This is all
but
for funs, guys. This is all just we're just goofing. We're all just having fun. Okay, like we love Titanic. We love Jaws. Sorry.
I've never seen Jaws.
It's a big shark come out ocean, eat people.
Yeah.
There's like four of them. It's
I've been
beautiful.
on the ride. So I think I got it.
For the longest time, my boyfriend was telling me that I think Jaws 3 was his favorite movie or something like that. Jaws 2 or Jaws 3, he kept saying. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch it with you. I've never seen anything past Jaws 1. And then we started it, and then he kept being like, I don't really remember this movie. I don't remember what happened. And I'm like, you said it was your favorite film. Why are we doing this right now? He does that all
It's
the
my
time.
all-time favorite movie.
Right. I'm
I
like,
don't
how do you not
actually know
remember
anything.
a single detail about this film? Like, did you think it was Shrek? Is Shrek actually your favorite movie? Did I get this
Is that
wrong?
directed by women?
No.
Oh man.
Actually, I confidently could guess no. But you know what is directed by women's? We need to talk about Kevin.
We need to talk about Kevin. Is that about like
It's like a school
someone with
shooter movie.
yeah. Wait, who's in it?
It's Tilda Swinton. It's directed by Lynn Ramsey and Ezra Miller.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've heard of this. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And it is kind of crazy. Like,
I think I was scared.
yes, I was scared for a while, so I didn't watch it for a while. I actually thought it was like, I had no idea what it was about at first. I thought maybe
Mhm,
like Kevin tries to kill his family or something.
mhm.
But it is, considering how prevalent school shootings are in America, it's crazy that we don't really have movies about that at all. But this is a really good one where it's just the mom kind of dealing with the aftermath of her kid doing something like this, and it's like
Oh
told in a lot of
shit.
flashbacks. Yeah, so kind of going off what you were saying about the Babadook, like it's a very very complicated mother son relationship, and it's also one of those cool movies where like the mom never really felt like she bonded with her son, and so she has a lot of flashbacks of like
Mm,
struggling to bond with him, which you don't see either. Like that kind of just needs to be told from a woman's perspective, from probably a mom's perspective. I don't know if
for
Lynn Ramsey
sure.
has kids, but probably. But yeah, it's really really good, and I feel like that is something that could have a difference. Where like maybe if a man directed it, it would have just been like crazy violent. The mom just did nothing but love her son. She's so sorry, or she was a villain. Either
Yeah. Oh,
way.
she probably it would turn out that she was like dating him.
Dating her son,
Yeah.
like a real like weird serial killer situation.
Yeah, like I just feel like every like serial killer thing that's like made by a man, they're like, yeah, and his mom, huge bitch. That's why. Like,
I mean, yeah. Well, I know like a lot of serial killers have like one parent just be absolutely psychotic, and that's part of what happened to them. But yeah, movies about
but
serial
it's like
killers are
usually the
like,
dad.
I guess it's either way. I gotta say, it's either way because Ed Kemper, famously a terrible mom, was always yelling at him, and he eventually kills his mom, and then I think he turn himself in. I think after he killed his mom, I think that's what happened. He killed a bunch of
I think it was his parents.
other women, and then he beheaded his mom. Trigger warning for beheading. Sorry.
Yeah. But also like I just like how you're like, yeah, he had a mom who would yell at him.
Yeah, well,
She'd tell him to clean his room up.
yeah.
Ugh.
Stupid bitch always telling me to like clean my room and stuff is dumb as hell.
Or like
Yeah.
comb my hair.
Yeah. It's really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
Is Ted
obviously
Bundy?
there's other
Yeah.
shit going on there.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
not just
Yeah.
that your mom is mean.
But we never get into that in movies like that. And it sounds like with look, we need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah, we
It
need to
sounds
talk
like
about
it does
Kevin.
kind of go. We hey guys, we need to talk about Kevin.
We
Um,
really need to talk about Kevin.
hey guys, Kevin's gone. We need to talk about it.
My sequel
um,
is like I'm not done talking about Kevin, so I'm sort of still working through this Kevin situation.
I mean, she probably had to for a long time, even after the movie.
Oh yeah. I mean,
After we
I
don't
don't know.
see it. No, I don't know,
Well,
but
I mean, I don't know how you get through something like that, which is what the movie's so good at because it shows us exactly that kind of situation, a situation that
mhm.
most of us have probably never thought of in our lives, and then you sit there and think like, yeah, if my kid was like a real evil piece of shit, what would I do?
No, for sure,
Do I
and like,
visit
yeah.
him in prison? Like, I don't know.
Well, that whole like complicated thing too, like, oh, you didn't really bond with your kid, like, but again, like, no one really talks about that because it's just assumed that a mom bonds with her kids,
Yeah, it's
but
supposed
that's
to
not always.
it's supposed to be from birth.
Yeah, but it's literally like that's a parasite. Technically, babies are just tapeworms,
And they don't
but
even
do the
make you
opposite.
skinny. Yeah, so it's
No,
like, what are we doing here?
it's like, why would you do that? Um,
Why
but
would you
yeah,
do that to
that's
me?
that's interesting though, that
Hmm.
because I mean, it probably would have just been about the school shooting. It probably would have been leading up to it, not the aftermath.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're right as well.
Yeah.
And it's also told in so there's like two different thoughts on what's the word I'm looking for, like story structure too, and I think it's told in a more feminine style, which is like kind of exactly what you just said, where like a male style is Aristotelian style. It's supposed to like mirror the male orgasm, where you just like rise to the climax, and then we're done. So it would
Oh
just
my
be rising to
God.
the shooting, maybe, and then we're done. But this one is it's more circular because she's going in like flashbacks, and it's the aftermath, and so you're seeing
Wait,
like bits and pieces rather, and then it all comes together.
is that a real
That's
thing?
a real thing. Yeah.
I
Hi and
abs
welcome to college.
Why does everything have to be about sex?
Because it just is.
Just chill, everyone. Chill. Just like drink a glass of water.
No, because we are horny and I got to tell story. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
Jeez Louise.
And also
Oh
it's
my
like all it's Aristotelian, so it's like it is named after Aristotle, which I also think
Mm.
everything Greek is just about penises, right? Like
It,
except for Sappho's, like everything Greek is just like, and then
literally,
we fuck, and then we fuck.
of course, they like went bankrupt. Like they're like, instead of learning about taxes, what if we just fucked?
I
That's literally
Yeah.
that's why Greece fell.
I mean, if you live in a beautiful place like that, maybe that is all you care about. I think they're very.
Mm.
I also love the thing of like we invented democracy, and it's like that was thousands of years ago, dude. It's like think of another thing.
Kind of maybe like come up with another thing.
Well, we
The
invented the
Euro, great.
Olympics.
Yeah, thousands of years ago, dude.
Yeah, well, shut up. That was my Greek impression.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the last one I want to leave us with is A League of Their Own, directed by Penny
Oh,
Marshall. League of
we
Their
love Penny
Own.
Marshall.
We love Penny Marshall. What's not to love? And A League of Their Own is a beautiful film. Stars
Oh,
Madonna, and
Rosie
she.
O'Donnell.
Yes. Yeah, I just love to throw out when Madonna's in a movie. As a Madonna fan, as the last living Madonna fan, I have to. But yeah, A League of Their Own is about real true story about when the men's had to go at war, World War II, and so women started these baseball leagues, really around here especially, and
Hmm.
that's our film. Tom Hanks is in it. It's beautiful.
My parents actually saw them filming the wedding scene because they did it in Chicago.
Oh my god, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so like the scene where they have the baseball bats and they're like going through, like my parents got to watch that.
That's so cute. Oh my
Yeah, that
gosh.
that film was like really a big part of my childhood because I played softball and like my mom's a huge baseball fan. Like her
Mm.
second wedding was baseball themed. And
Was it in a batting cage and everyone like threw balls at the bride and groom?
No, it was like a really like nice wedding, but like she did walk down the aisle to go Cubs go. But
That's so cute.
she was like in a nice gown. It was really cute. But yeah, so that was like a big, I feel like that was a big like movie in my life. And also, that just annoys me because I was watching something and they were talking about how, like, it was like a documentary, of course, because that's all I watch. And they were talking about how the women, like, really just like buckled down and was getting everything done during World War II. And then when the men came back, they were just like, all right, get out of my seat. Like, no, thank you. No, like, oh, this is actually good. Like they did good work and can do things. It was
Right.
like years later when we could get a credit card without our dad signing for it or our husband.
I know. I mean, and part of that like kind of did lend to feminism, to Betty Friedan's the feminine mystique and stuff like that, because a lot of women did taste that independence and what it was like to be
Mm-hmm.
that productive outside of their roles at home, and it left them feeling very depressed when they had to go back home.
Well, and just like also like the dresses in it. I love the dresses, but I'm also just like so annoyed that jerseys are dresses. Like, what the hell? But
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I played softball and we had to wear really short shorts. And when she slides and just like fucks up her thigh,
Yeah.
like I have scars from sliding because like all the boys would wear, I mean, we could wear pants, but that just wasn't like the thing.
Right.
We were wearing like sliding pads, but these women were just sliding.
And I think if Penny Marshall wasn't at the helm of this movie, that's what the
Oh,
difference would be. We would just see a lot more leg. We'd see a lot more. We'd see some butt. We'd see like a whole
none of them
lot of
bruised.
no beautiful butts, beautiful
Yeah.
unscathed butts.
Unscathed, like no dirt.
Mm.
They'd be sliding on marble. This
Okay, that
actually would, it would just become a figure skating film.
that actually sounds nice though. Now that you put it that way, it sounds aesthetically pleasing.
Yes, but in real life, they would just shatter their bones.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm. And that's okay. We have stunt people for that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, no, yeah, but that, yeah, I don't think that movie would have been made, honestly. I don't think it would
Yes.
have. I don't think it would have been made if Penny Marshall hadn't been because she already had like a really big
Mm-hmm.
presence in
It
Hollywood.
is kind of surprising. Yeah, when now that you say that, it's kind of surprising it did get made. And it, yeah, you're right. It wouldn't have had there not been some importance behind it, some people that people respect and things like that, which is the case for a lot of this kind of stuff when it comes to
Yeah.
women's stories, because
Oh yeah.
they're lumped as women's stories. That's part of the problem.
And then they have like kind of the homage to like the black woman.
Just a little.
like they're like, oh yeah, they weren't allowed to play, but did they have cannons? You know, like when she like gets the ball and just like chucks it, and they're like, wish segregation wasn't a thing because we'd ask you to play. Bye.
Bye. Just like a tiny note about history there. That's all.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, Olivia, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Of course.
Where can the good people listening find you?
Well, so right now on Instagram, Alarvia, and then when I decide to open up my Twitter again, because I'm in the witness protection program, kind of.
She's
Not really, just kidding.
she's just private. That's all. Sometimes we
I'm
just
just
need some privacy.
just sometimes we need to step back, but
Hmm.
yeah, basically, yeah. Twitter, Instagram, HBO Max,
Yes,
kind
watch
of.
Southside, everybody. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for talking with me today. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you to producer Christine Ferreira for being so wonderful today. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.